Okay, in this video I'm going to show you the map to Evolv Datasets functionality in myEvolv. This is a form set member in the reports module that you may have seen but never known what it was for or when you might use it. This video will get into that and then also go through the steps you must follow if you're going to use it. The basics of this functionality is that it allows you to run a data insight report through the canned reports. What we commonly refer to as the canned reports are the bulk of the form set members in the reports module. They cover a wide variety of data in myEvolv, but they're limited to system views, which means they're limited to reporting on basic information that all myEvolv systems would have in common. Data Insight was incorporated a little bit later to allow customized reporting, but it's a third-party software, so while it has its strengths, it also has its weaknesses. And mapping your custom DI reports to Evolv Datasets allows you to bring some of the strengths from both reporting solutions together. So what are those strengths? One, you can bring your custom fields into the canned reports because Data Insight allows you to create your own virtual fields or views. You're not stuck using system views, though you are stuck with needing to use a system view to bring your custom reports over to the canned reports, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Users are able to use the Saved Reports Query widget in order to save their configuration on the report, so they can have it listed right here. So that's possible when you've got your data insight map there. And canned reports also adhere to the myEvolv security, so if a user tries to run a report on all clients, the data return will only be on those clients that the user has access to in myEvolv. With Data Insights, no myEvolv security is applied unless you build it into your virtual view, which can be a pain. Your other option is to set up a whole set of security roles and filters within Data Insight to keep users from accessing clients they don't need to see information about. So the documentation on how to use this functionality is sparse and difficult to find, so I figured I'd walk through an example to show you how to use it. For my example, I'm going to create a custom canned report to list the school district of origin for clients in my system. So to start, let's take a look at the form that I'm using to hold the data about the client school district. There's a system form for other schools attended, but we needed to add some custom fields to it in order to get exactly what we needed. In this case, we have a yes-no question that we added, right? So here's where we're saying what school are they in. We added a yes-no question, and if this is a yes, it clears out the school district of origin there. And if we say no, that becomes a required field, so we'd fill in another school. And then we have the grade level here. That was a stock field on the form. So I'm interested in getting a report about this information into the canned reports. If I right click and look at the form information here, we'll see that this is a enrollments for a person form family, which uses the enrollment table. And what that tells me is that all the information from my form here is going to be housed in the event log table, the enrollment table, and the enrollment X table, so that helps me figure out what my view is going to be for my data insight report. Alright, so then the next thing I've got to do with that in mind is to go to the canned reports section and figure out which one of those is the best to use in order to pull my data over. Since this is a client report, we have a lot of options to work with because basically any of these are going to work. The other things we want to take into consideration is what parameter options are available. So if I look around, client services, if I use this one, I'm able to filter on all of these fields. I could even filter on build, not build. Some of that doesn't make any sense for what we're doing and actually could have some weird side effects for what we're trying to do too. For instance, if I link it to one of these views and I run the report and I say only not build, when it runs, it's going to show me only school districts on kids who have not billed within this date range, right? So matching up the view is a little bit tricky. You want to make sure you got the parameters, but also that the kind of data matches up, sort of. So what I'm thinking here is, because the school district of origin is like a one-time thing, similar to what maybe a program enrollment would be, then I want to use like a program enrollment type view. I actually think this enrollments for a period one will work quite nicely. The only thing here again is I have to put in a date range, and so it will always be limited to kids who started their enrollment between these two dates. But otherwise I can do things like run it for program only, and that seems to be a way that somebody in my agency might want to run it. So that's the one I'm going to pick. So with knowing where my canned report's going to show up, and this report selection is where we're going to see my custom form show up. So with that in mind, we're going to go over now to the custom reporting module and start working on my custom report. First thing I need to do is figure out which canned data set was used for that report. And the way I'm going to do that is to go in and just start a new report. And when the data source comes up, I'm going to make sure to stay in this Evolv canned datasets area. And I'm going to look for the one that probably was used to make the report. Now, there's not a ton of options here, so you just have to kind of look around, see, and it looks like, I think this is it here, report logic client placement info. If I expand it, you get an idea of what kind of fields are available in the report. And so I think based off of what the enrollments for a period uses and what's available here, that it is probably the case that this is what's being used. I'm going to look around just to have an idea of what the ID fields are that have been pulled in, because those are going to be the ones that are available for me to use when it comes time to join and make a relationship between the Evolv canned dataset and my virtual view. Now the important one here I saw right up at the top was people ID. So with that in mind, we can proceed. We're going to join it on that people ID field. Okay, so we can cancel out of that. I'm going to now go to configuration and create a new virtual view. And you can give your virtual view whatever name you want. This one I'm going to call School District of Origin. And, School District of Origin, and give it a name like that. Now the view I'm going to use for this isn't anything fancy. I've already pre-written it out, but it just gets those fields and joins the lookup table so that I get the values instead of the GUIDs for it. So I'm just going to pop that in, test it. It's pulling in, and I'm making sure in my virtual view that I have the people ID field pulling in from the event log table. I've got the school's name, is it the origin school, the other school's name, and the grade. So a very simple view. I'm going to save that. So now I've got a virtual view up and running, and I just need to make the relationship between it and the Evolv canned dataset. So to do that, I'm going to go to configuration, down to create a new data object relationship. Now label, you can give it whatever label you want. That's going to basically be for your reference if you ever need to come in and change anything about it. The main data object here, we're going to look for that canned data set. Now these ones are always start with report logi. And we pick the client placement info, so I'm going to select that one. We're going to keep it an inner join, and the join data object is going to be my virtual view, so I just need to go find that school district of origin in here. There it is. And so the last part that you really need to mess with is down here where you're creating that relationship, and what we want to see here is just that both sides have people ID in it, because that's the field that's going to match between the two. And I'll just hit save, and there it is, and that's ready to go. So now we can go and actually make the data insight report that we want to show when you run the report from the canned reports. So I'll go into report management and create a new one. Now this time when I do the data source, there's two. This time when I do it, I'm going to go over and select my custom data source, which was the school district of origin. And you'll see once I've selected it that it's pulling in the canned data set. Because they have a relationship, I can use both, and I'm actually going to select both. And when I create this report, you'll see that I have my custom view fields, and I also have the canned report fields. So I can use a combination of those in my report. And that's what I'll actually do. So I'm going to grab the kid's name and then my 4 custom fields. And I'm just going to do a little bit of grouping on them so that the kid pulls in once. Okay, so with those set up, this report should be good. And I click save, give it a name. And then, okay, so with my report made, I have to run the utility next, so go to utility. So in here, you're looking for populate data insight reports table. Click run. Now this utility makes it possible for those reports that you created to pull in over to Evolv. So every time you create a new one, you got to run this utility for it to populate table and be an option for you to select in the mapping area. So say yes. It runs very quickly, so it's all done. Now we can go back, and in the Evolv report datasets, we're going to select Evolv reports, and in here we'll pick our enrollments for a period. So all of these listing here would be the ones that have a relationship to the canned datasets. So we're going to select that one. And then we just have to create a new row in here. Now this caption is going to be what people see when they select the report selection from the canned reports. Do that, and then you go in here and you pick your report, and then click save. So with all those steps completed, we finally have a report that will run from the canned reports area. So let's go check it out. Go down to enrollments for a period. I'm going to run this one wide open. So I'm going to say 1/1/2010 through today. And then for report selection, I'm going to pick my Data Insight Custom report. And then for parameters, I'm going to select client equals my test person. And click preview. And when that pops up, there's my report. There she is. That's the school, is origin, school district of origin if other, and the grade. And if I want to, I can save that query, update, and then when I go to my home screen, it'll be there. And if I click and run it from here, there it is. So that's it. That's the myEvolv report datasets.